Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the Center for State's video series on the 6 functions of teaming for the change and implementation process. This series is produced by the Capacity Building Center for States and funded by the Children's Bureau. In this module, we're going to break down the 4th function in teaming for the change and implementation process. Develop a team communication plan and external communication strategy. Remember, at this point, a team has already identified the team purpose, team members, and teaming structure, as well as developed a team charter. In this video, we will talk about developing the team communication plan and external communication strategy before moving on to working together to guide the implementation process and then debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps. Let's get started. All teams and sub-teams should develop an internal communication plan and external communication strategy. Communication plans ensure that team members have regular opportunities to share their ideas, thoughts, and opinions, and weigh in on vital decisions. An open communication plan also helps build trust among team members. Internal and external communication plans clarify the internal and external communication protocols and identify who is responsible for them. They also ensure that the flow of information to leadership and among the sub-teams and across the agency as appropriate by specifying what information to share, who to share it with, and how often. An effective external communication strategy also clarifies the role that external stakeholders have on the team and establishes regular communication with external stakeholders who do not participate in the daily work of the team. Team communication plans should include the following strategies. They should ensure the flow of information to leadership, the sub-teams, and across the agency as appropriate. They should clarify internal and external communication protocols and identify the person responsible for maintaining them. They should provide relevant information to all stakeholders. And use several communication mechanisms, including both in-person and virtual meetings, presentations, emails, and written documents such as memos. The communication subteam or committee can take the lead on setting up an external communication strategy that clearly lays out the following: the roles that external stakeholders will play during the change and implementation process, what information will be shared, for example, the progress of the initiative and milestones achieved, the frequency of the communications. It is important to note that communication with external stakeholders may be more formal and might include presentations, written reports, memos, and in-person meetings. Using the 5 W's in developing a team communication plan and external communication strategy will help you clarify the important points. Who? Which other teams and stakeholders will the team need to communicate with? Who on the team has the primary responsibility for clear and effective communication with those outside the team? Who has the primary responsibility for clear and effective communication among team members? And who on the team will be responsible for collecting the necessary information to share with the team? What? What information needs to be shared and with whom? What information feedback loops already exist or need to be created for the team to use? What resources will the team need to stay informed? For example, electronic shared workspace or email systems? Where? Where can team participants obtain the information they need for their work? When? How often should information such as team progress reports be shared, and to whom? Why? Why should information be shared with those external to the team? What are the criteria for deciding which information should not be shared externally? Why has a particular method of communication been chosen to communicate with a particular group? Consider the following questions to help develop the team communication plan and external communication strategy. How will the team communicate and how often? Who is responsible for ensuring that all necessary information is sent at the right times to the right people? What stakeholders need to be included? When do they need to be included? How will feedback be gathered and collected and communicated to the team? How will the team be positioned within the agency's decision-making structure to facilitate communication and decisions? Answering these questions together will help the team to effectively develop a team communication plan and external communication strategy that supports the change initiative. Let's hear more about the example. As Diamond County moves forward with delivering the selected intervention, solidifying their communication plan and external communication strategy, they begin to discover the makeup and responsibilities of some teams may need to be revisited. They had developed 3 teams: the executive leadership team, the project management team, and the stakeholder advisory team, as well as 4 sub-teams: the design team, the recruitment, selection, and training team, the supervision and coaching team, and the implementation team. A critical part of the communication plan was the sharing of fidelity assessment data with supervisors, so they could share any concerns with decision makers and adjustments could be made if needed. When the subteams were originally created, the implementation team took on the responsibility of collecting and reviewing fidelity assessment data. Unfortunately, supervisors were not included in the original implementation team roster. To alleviate this gap in communication, the implementation team is reconfigured to include supervisors. It sounds like the agency is ensuring the team structure reflects the mission, goals, and anticipated contributions outlined in the team charter. What do you think might be their next step? The next step in teaming is working together to guide the implementation process. Let's take a moment to check in on what you've learned about developing a team communication plan and external communication strategy. Why do teams develop a team communication plan and external communication strategy? To engage team thoughts and ideas and build trust, clarify protocols for who is communicated to and when, and define roles and responsibilities for communication. How do teams develop a team communication plan and external communication strategy? By clarifying the flow of communication, responsibility and methods used, and the role of external stakeholders using the 5 W's as a guide. What can help teams develop a team communication plan and external communication strategy? By considering how, when, what will be communicated to who, and defining who is responsible for communicating and collecting feedback. Now, take this a step further by reviewing the reflection questions and practice exercise for develop team communication plan and external communication strategy in your teaming workbook. Up next is working together to guide the implementation process, the 5th function in teaming for change and implementation.